doing nothing wrong ever, and Brett, it's always my fault. And today, it's all Miranda.
No. Because Brett knows that he's here to start us off with a story for an illustration to get us into where we're going.
Everything's always my fault. Well, she's usually right. It is my fault, but that's another story. So yeah, we had a good day.
The catastrophe was Brett's like, let's bring the kitty over here.
Yeah.
Well, kitty came over here. I don't know what happened. This thing fell on the floor and.
Yeah, it was. Well, Kitty didn't want to be over here, so she jumped down, and we tried to. And yeah, but yeah, usually things. I'm trying to think other things that are my fault. Locking the door locked the other when we got locked out. That was my fault, but. To my defense, it was ignorance. I didn't know shutting the door hard would do that.
It's true. He didn't know.
Yeah. I don't know that I've done much since then, but yeah. It's been a day.
It's been a good day.
It's been a cold day.
Oh, so cold out there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, so cold. It said it was 40 this morning, but felt more like 10 or 0 with the wind.
Yeah.
It was cold.
After several days of warm, we actually had really nice days for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it was the first day I felt cold outside. Mm-hmm. Usually, you just put on your coat, go to church, and you're fine, but the wind just cut right through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was cold. And, I just was looking through old pictures and stuff, and I was looking at angels, my old angel pictures. I had to find some for the play. We're going to do a couple of plays in April for the University and the Academy, and part of the set I was going to take 2 angel pictures, and it kind of goes with the story. So I was looking through all my old angel pictures, and I thought I had a picture. There's one that's called the Bird Girl, and I thought I had one because it was in Savannah, and I looked up online, and because I know we'd gone to Savannah, and I looked what cemetery is the Bird Girl, and it was in Bonaventure, which is in, and I had a file folder called Bonaventure. I was like, I remember us going there, and I thought, man, did I get a pic? And I didn't have one. And I'm like, why didn't I? And then it came back to me. I looked up. They had actually it was used as a cover photo for a book and a movie. And it got so famous, they removed it because too many people were going and doing stuff too. And so they put it in a museum. And by the time we got there, it was already moved. But I don't know. It was fun. Had pictures of Aspen when she was, and she would get by. Big smile with no front teeth. And she was such a cute little girl.
We were younger then, too.
We were. So bad. There's a picture of me, and I'm like, and I was like, oh, I used to look like that, but not anymore. But yeah, that was a fun trip. I don't remember how we got to Savannah though. We were had to have been in Charleston.
Yeah, we were visiting your mom, and then was that when we went down and then we drove across to the GC stuff? Was that
I don't remember. I know we must have gone from Charleston to Savannah, but after Savannah, I don't know where. Maybe we went to Hendersonville?
No, because we'd come from there.
Oh, we'd come from Hendersonville to Charleston, then Savannah.
Yeah, and then we must have been on our way to the GC
Texas, thing in Texas,
the pastors' meetings there.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I can figure out.
Yeah. That was a fun trip. Through South Carolina, where I'm from, in Georgia and stuff. And anyway, some of the pictures I'd forgotten about, and it's like we found that cemetery off in the middle of woods somewhere, and it was really cool because usually the forgotten cemeteries just have little headstones or little bricks. But this had like full-on monuments, and we got to stop at a couple of roadside stands, and I can't forget what we got, but
got a pecan pie.
Yeah, it was like stuff for Georgia, peach and pecans. Yeah, it was fun. We should do that again.
Yes.
Except Aspen doesn't like to travel. She's a homebody. She just likes to stay at home and
We'll stand her on the street corner with a cup.
That's it.
Taking donations for our
Yes.
vacation.
Yes. Please support my travel. But yeah, actually, we're thinking about doing some traveling if we can. But we've said this before. Traveling around in Texas, just not a lot to see. I mean, there's a lot of Texas, but there's just not a lot to see.
Well, we've seen everything within a day trip.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, it gets longer. Like a 4-hour drive away doesn't seem that far until you have to spend the night and all that kind of stuff. Then it's no longer a quick little, let's go see it and then go back home. So, yeah.
So, anyway, it's fun. Been a crazy few weeks. Life is really, really busy. All my classes, and we're doing the play, and I got 2 plays. I got the academy and the university, and it's just life is. I forgot how crazy it is because I haven't done a play in a few years since we got here, but now this year I'm doing it, and it's like, oh my word! I forgot all the craziness and set building and all kinds of, my life is. I don't know.
Actually, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't plan a vacation. Because the last time we planned a vacation, you were unemployed and COVID hit.
Ooh, we could be setting up the world for something bad. Let's go on vacation. Disaster, famine, pestilence. Yeah, it could be bad. Oh.
Can't do it.
We'll stay home. Save the world. But yeah, you know what I would love to, we can't afford to do it. Well, you mentioned it once too, seeing the castles in Europe. I love, as strange as it sounds, I love cemetery angels, lighthouses, and castles. I think that would be awesome to see.
Oh yes, and do you know that there are 129 lighthouses in Michigan?
I don't doubt it with the Great Lakes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was very, very interesting.
Wow. See, I love lighthouses. But I'd like to do not very many castles in America, a few, but it'd be interesting to see some of the castles in Europe. Mm-hmm. It would be interesting to see the castle we're talking about today.
Oh yes, do tell.
Do tell. Segue. See how I did that?
Yeah.
Castle.
But we're segueing into you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's get started. Enough dilly-dallying around of nonsense. Today, we're talking about
open doors.
Open doors.
Mm-hmm.
Opening the doors. So, a story to begin with. Many years ago, there was a kingdom, and they were a kingdom of waffles. Where was it? Belgium. Belgium waffle. The kingdom of Belgium, and there were 2 brothers. And I guess the elder brother was the ruler, and he was, king, and he was ruling the land. But he wasn't doing a very good job. He was sort of a kind of selfish, ego, driven, as many firstborn children are.
Unlike ourselves,
Unlike
because
ourselves.
we're both last-born children.
That's right. See, the last-born children are nice and funny, and but firstborn children, Craig, are often not as funny and giving and generous. Anyway, so this guy was...
I do hope he's not watching today.
He never watched it. So anyway, so he was kind of a bad, kind of selfish ruler. One of the one, takes all the good stuff for himself and leaves the peasants to fend for themselves. And anyway, it got so bad that his brother, who was a good guy, he gathered an army in rebellion and he took over the kingdom, right? But he didn't kill his brother, didn't kill his elder brother. His elder brother, who had by this time grown fat from, I assume, eating so many waffles, because they were in Belgium, he put him in a room in the castle. So he's in the castle, and he put him in a room, and the room was designed with a door and a window. Neither one was shut. They were both open. They were just open air, windows and doors. And all he had to do was lose enough weight to get through either one, right? That's all he had to do. But knowing his brother, and his weakness and his, complete lack of willpower, he would make sure that he got served the best, grandest meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, of all his favorite fattening foods, right? But one thing, at least in the version I had read, in the book that I had seen, he made sure there was both meals. He had a choice. He could eat the Belgian waffles covered in syrup, butter, and ice cream, or he also provided, healthier meal, food that he could have just eaten, like salad. Right? He could have had that too. They were both there. But over all the years, the brother would never, lose weight. Even though his freedom depended upon him losing weight, he just couldn't do it, right? And so this goes on for years and years and years. And finally, I guess the younger brother was killed in battle, I think it was. And so like, well, the one brother's dead, the good, we hate to go back to the other, but he's the only one we got left. So they went and got him, but he was so, overweight and sick and probably diabetic and everything else that he died within a year, I think it was. Yeah, he didn't last. And all for, not being able to walk through that door of his freedom because he couldn't give up his, addiction to food.
Yeah, so last week I felt as though I didn't quite finish the idea of what we're talking about. So we're kind of doing a part 2 today. And
why don't you remind them what we did last week?
Last week we talked about how basically we live out lives that we are lies that we are entirely unaware of, or we believe a lie that we believe it to be true.
Yeah.
And so we always need to be open-minded to that, because at some point in time, hopefully we will recognize that that is a lie and instead start living out the truth.
And, there's, maybe you can think of a time in your life, I know I can, about things that you thought were true, and it might even be just because you were told something and it was believable, and you went so long, and then years later you found out it wasn't that way at all, and like, oh my goodness, all this time I thought this, and it's really this. And
you want to tell your experiences? Remember you said the girl with her arm out the window?
You mean when growing up as a child?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a funny one.
Yeah,
there's a lot. This is one. It's kind of a humorous thing because I was a child. But, as parents, if you have children, as parents, that, out of our love and concern for our children, we lie to them. It's how we show our love and concern. And at least my mom, anyway. And
see, there's a lie for you.
There's a lie for you. So, lies we tell our children. So my mom told us, you've heard, like, if you make a funny face and keep it, it's going to freeze that way. Or, if you swallow the seeds, you're going to get a tree growing in your stomach. Or this one was if you put your arm out the window while the car is going down the highway, it'll get torn off, And anyway, we were coming home from school one day, and we gave this girl that I thought was actually cute. Must have been in the 5th grade or something. No, it had to be younger than that. But we were giving her a ride home because I think she lived in the same neighborhood, and Mom knew her mom. So anyway, this girl was obviously far more intelligent than I, because we were in the back seat, and what's coming. We're sitting there, and I'm trying to be cool because I like this girl, and she rolls the window down and she sticks her arm out, and just as she's sticking her arm out, I'm sure it's going to get blown off in the wind, so I scream and lunge across the back seat. No, it'll fly off! And I grabbed her, and we never gave her a ride home again. For some reason, that was the last time I was allowed to go to their house. Anyway, lies we tell our children. I told Aspen lies. Was she sliding down a mattress? No, sweetie, it'll be fine. It'll be fun. And then the mattress slipped and she bonked her head on the chest.
Oops.
And I told you she just fell on her own.
Oh.
But that's why Aspen is the way she is today. She's intelligent and smart. It unleashed her superpowers. Yes. Anyway.
Yes. Well, Brett actually taught Sabbath school today for someone else. And he talked about family of origin stuff, basically.
Yeah.
How we get raised is the belief system that we grow up with, and it's everyday normal living, these lies that we live out, whatever they happen to be. And so last week in Sabbath school, as part of the discussion, someone mentioned that, certain groups of people basically, in whatever situation they're in, if they just walked out the door of that room, they're keeping themselves prisoner in this room, right? And the door that they can exit is right over there. It's so simple. How come they never do it? They don't have to stay this way. They can walk out that door and live a different life.
Was that like related to homeless and poor or whatever?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I said, well, there was a little bit of discussion about that, right? And I said, well, I don't know about anybody else, but when I think of, say, my own spiritual life, for example, how many times have I been living out a lie, basically, and God comes along and he says, hey, you know what, how about we try this other way of living? And here's the door. This is what I want you to do. And we ignore it somehow or other. Either one, we don't really see it, we only vaguely see it. We have no idea how much better it will actually be over there, even though we've heard that it's better if you do that. And 3, maybe, or 4, or however many, whatever list I'm on by now, we're kind of afraid to go out because we don't know really what is on the other side. And life is fairly comfortable like it is. It may not be the best, and yet it's how we're used to living, and it's comfortable that way. And sometimes we actually just don't want to leave. We'd rather be doing what we shouldn't be doing. And so I suggested that as, it happens. Now, for yourself, think about it. Think about the last time and how long God has prompted you to live a different way, to give up a certain way of living. And think of all the reasons why you haven't done that yet, right? Okay, so, yes? Oh, I thought you had a comment.
Oh, I just thinking as you're talking, and yeah, I can look back and, yeah, there's times, I don't know if you hit this or not, that you even see the door, and you're like, I know, I need to do that, and I'm going to. Not yet, but I am going to, and tomorrow, and I'm young, and I like this, right? I'm going to do this for a little bit, even though I know it's probably not the best for me, and I am going to get through that door, though, but I put it off, and I put it off. And there's sometimes, all of our friends and family see doors we should walk through, and we don't.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then again, we can see doors that they should walk through, and they don't. And entirely unaware of that.
Yeah.
Right. And so let's call the door that Jesus wants us to walk through the truth door, right? And
the truth door.
Yes.
The door of truth.
Yes.
Here I am emphasizing what Miranda has to say.
as I look back to where was I?
I'm just like putting that out there.
Yeah, okay.
The door of truth.
So when we walk through the truth door, first of all, we need to agree to give up what it is that God has asked us to give up, right? And that requires taking off a layer of protection. Okay, now we haven't talked about that yet, but that we use to protect ourselves. This lie is protecting us. We feel as if it is keeping us safe, right?
Like what?
Well, one, we like to do it, so therefore we wouldn't want to give it up. Mm-hmm. Or 2, it seems scary to walk through.
Fear.
Yeah, fear, and just those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also things we use, depending on our life situation, things we use to feel better. If we're afraid of being alone, or if we're afraid of feeling not good enough, and we do things to make ourselves feel better. That would be kind of like an addiction or something. Or, yes, Aspen.
It's just stretching.
Oh. Aspen, when you put your hand up, that means I have something to say. I would like to contribute.
Brushes make me feel better.
See, Aspen has an addiction to brushes and a great fear of wind. I don't
Messing
understand
up her hair.
It just, yeah. But yeah, like you say, there's usually something that we hold on to because it gives us something we think we need.
Right, and in a sense, it keeps us safe. It's our protection.
Yes, our shield against whatever.
Yes, And so basically when God asks us to give that up, first of all, it requires taking off that shield of protection, getting rid of that lie. And then, because basically we aren't going to fit through the door unless we do, because broad is the gate that leads to destruction, but narrow is the gate that leads to eternal life.
Oh, I thought you were going to say broad is the gate that leads to Amazon, narrow is the gate that leads to savings for your future.
Well, I mean, if that works, then it works. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so once we enter that room, though, in that room is more power to overcome what God has asked us to give up. Because really, once we enter that room, there is always another truth door to go through, which once again...
What? Another door?
Yeah, another one. Oh my goodness. Yes. I don't know about everybody else, but it seems like I've spent my life, no sooner are you done finally with one, you're like, oh, yes. God has another one. That's just how it is. And so, but still, every time you go through the truth door, you are walking into a room with more power to overcome the temptation. Now, take for example, you like pens every day. When you're at work, you can't get enough pens, so every day you take home a pen from work and another pen from work and another pen from work. That's your temptation, right? That's what you want to keep on doing. But once you walk through that door, now you have received the power to overcome that taking the pen home every single day. Okay, so it doesn't mean you will never be tempted again, but you now understand that power that God has for us to do that for you rather than you resisting under your own power. What are you looking at me like that for?
Why didn't I just order a case of pens from Amazon?
Because you like to take them from work for whatever reason.
So it's not the pen, it's the taking of the pen.
Okay. It was an illustration.
Oh, it was an illustration. I got you.
Yes.
Well, let's see. I'm going to think of my own life. Well, so, to get candid, honest, and real for a little bit. When I was in college, my first couple of years in college, I was not the best student. I was not the best student most of my life, let's just be honest. But, which is why I'm never really hard on Aspen about things, because she comes home and, and I see and I hear the same things I did. And I came out okay, mostly. And anyway, so like my first years, I ended up getting sidetracked and I got into, the first year it was more drinking, the second year was more drugs. That was my kind of 2 years of rebellion. But even in that, living in that room, you might say, I saw the door. And that's what I meant earlier. I knew I needed to go through that door and I'm going to get there. And it's like, but, yeah, and you put it off and you put it off, right? And I remember it well. I was going to go to summer camp and work as a counselor. And I knew I was like, I can't do this at summer camp. And there was also part of me was like, this is not you, and, because I was taking religion. I wanted to be an academy teacher. And so I just quit. Now, that instance, I was just able to drop it and never again. I actually didn't like the taste of alcohol anyway. But I remember I remember the next day after I, said that was it, no more. And the next day. And it really does feel like, for me, it really felt like going from, like, you could say one room to another room. And that room, that life that was in that room seemed much bigger. And there was something about being there that gave you strength to not go back.
Right, because now you've experienced living out the truth.
And there was things I thought I knew in the one room that once I got in the other room, the bigger room, the truth of it all came out much clearer. I saw things that I didn't, like, I won't get into it, but, things I saw that, there was more, I guess there's a truth in that room.
Right, and because now you could look back at your friends, for example, who were still living the other way. Now you're able to see that, what that actually is, more clearly, because you're not living that lie yourself.
And it was so difficult to convince them of the truth I had seen.
Right.
That they didn't see.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
And I thought, this is great. And I was there in that place for probably a good 10, 15 minutes before there was another door visible. That
Yeah. All you have to, if you think you're done, all you have to do is ask God, and He will provide.
Yes.
It's like, oh, look, right here.
Thank you, Lord, I'm in this room. This is amazing. He said, oh, God, welcome to the room. Oh, did you notice that door over there?
Yeah. He has no problem showing up and letting us know where He would like us to go. And it's all for our own benefit. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing in the end where He wants to take you.
Jesus, the eternal doorman.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, what it looks like is giving up what you want to do at the moment of temptation, right? Because God has a better way for you to live out His time that He has given you. There is power in the truths of God. There's power in living out the words of God. In the Bible, the words of Jesus are just red ink, right? On white paper. But when we live out those words, they grow. They produce fruit. They produce seeds that produces more fruit, right? Or we cannot live out those words and they can just remain there, red words on white paper. They will just remain a pretty picture on a seed packet of what they could have been but never became. Because it's like the breath of God that breathed out those words. When we take them into our lives and live them out, that same breath of the Spirit of God gives us power to live them out, and not just live them out, but gives us the power to see and hear and understand more truth, to be able to walk through more doors into more rooms with more power. The smaller the door, the lower we have to go to crawl through it, and the bigger the room that we walk into, which that was a really great illustration you used of your personal life, because that's exactly how it works. And it's amazing how much truth God has for us. And when He gives us that truth, that's a piece of who He is. And then we sort of become, that's how we become more like Jesus, if you will. And how then people don't necessarily see us, but they see Jesus and His works. Because those works are things that they know that they cannot do under their own power. But then now they see someone doing that, and it's because they can see we do it by the power of God. And that,
do more with the seeds.
Do more with the seeds.
Yeah, I like that illustration. You said something about packets and seed packets.
Yeah, I have more written on that, but not right here, right this second. Oh, this.
What did you say?
Basically, the packet of seed. If we don't live out the words of God, now the parable of the seed sower. The seeds are the word of God, right? Okay, so the seeds are the word of God, and when they get sown onto the soil, they can either get lived out or not. Now, when they get lived out, they grow and they produce a crop, right? That's us living out the truth of God's words.
Ah,
When we don't, it's as if the seeds had just stayed in the packet. They look good on the outside. That's a little more like, say, Pharisee living or whatever. There's truth in there. There's truth in that packet. And look at that pretty picture. But the seeds never grew. They never got lived out. So therefore, they never produced the works and the truths, more truths and stuff like that, that God had created them to do. And
see how good Aspen is. Now the sower sows the word of God.
That much is true.
That is plain to see.
That is plain to see.
And the soil is the heart in which he sows.
These aren't my lines. You're doing my lines.
Oh, am I doing your lines? Oh, which heart will you be?
Which heart will you be? A heart that is...
A hard heart.
A hard heart that is beaten and...
And Satan steals the word away?
Yeah.
Or a thorny heart where the word can't grow and is choked out every day.
That's not my line.
A soft heart, open heart where the word can live and grow. And, okay. Anyway, that's a skip that Aspen used to do. But I was thinking with the seeds in the package. I don't know. Our viewers may not be familiar with packets of seeds.
oh, surely everybody's been to a big box store where they have the seeds. They must have just walked by anyways.
And they're in packets, and they have pictures of what it's going to be. And
they look so pretty that they just reel you in and you buy them.
But then if you open the bag, then those things aren't in the bag. You just get these little tiny things that don't look anything like the picture.
Yeah, it's true. Because,
false advertising.
Because true, when we see the words of God, we have no idea where the power in that truth. We have no idea the power in that truth unless we live it out. And
or the seed gets planted. Because if you just take the bag and like, I've got this, and you leave it on the shelf, it's never, ever going to do that. It
looks really good. And this is us basically doing good in order to be good. And that's the little packet of seed that just...
Because people come over and like, look what I've got. And you have your little picture packet of your seed, but it's just nothing really. But if you plant it...
Yeah, then you end up with all kinds of things like pretty flowers or some tomatoes or...
Well, let's be a little more specific. If you plant it, you get those things. If I plant it, you get watermelons you try to grow that turn out to be the sizes of a plum and then stop growing.
Did you actually do that?
I did. As a child, I wanted to grow a watermelon, and I don't know what I did wrong, but it only got to be about that big. And then it gave up on life. It was like, no, it's not worth it. And yeah, I'm sure I did something wrong, but...
You didn't feed it enough truth.
I did not. I
didn't take care of your truth.
I'll tell you what I did. I did cherry tomatoes. I just remember back when we lived at Lake Murray. I don't know how I got into it. My mom, maybe. I don't know what it was. I planted cherry tomato bush right outside my bedroom window. And it grew, and they were really good. Watermelons, not so much, but cherry tomatoes were good. And you're the tomato queen. You grow tomatoes amazingly anywhere we go. Las Vegas, she grew tomatoes.
I did, but I kind of gave up here. I just did. I got tired of the heat outdoors and got to water in the heat and just all the diseases that want to come upon the tomatoes and that sort of thing. So I gave up. I did.
But boy, they were good. You had to get a store-bought tomato or tomato restaurant versus, boy, you grow and eat it raw. Oh, man, some of those were so sweet. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I never knew the difference until Miranda grew tomatoes. But yeah, sorry, off topic. But yeah, and that's why that was really cool because you had the seed, and you don't know the power of creation in that until you plant
don't,
it.
because it looks so small. So many of God's truths don't seem particularly important. This is why we ignore the truth door, because, it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal.
Yeah.
But you walk through that door and you receive the power of God's truth into your life, and it changes you. That is what changes your heart. Is when you live out the truth, you have the truth.
And so like in the seed, the truth, God's word, God's promise, get plant, and just like the seed, a tiny little thing, and boom, you have all these amazing tomatoes and things you never imagined. Same thing happens when truth gets planted in us.
Right. But it's not us that does that. It's not even us. It's God that does it, because this is a parable of the vine dresser, basically. It is God and Jesus that are there taking care of the grapes and producing the fruit. The fruit that gets produced in our lives.
And as the seed has that inherent power simply created in it, that's the same thing with God's truth. There is power in just inherent, because God spoke it, God created it, and it's released when it's planted in our hearts, and then God's the vine, the caretaker.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I thought, oh, that's a good illustration.
Well, now you've used up all my stuff.
Oops.
Now, next week we talk about a journey through the Beatitudes. We'll be teaching Sabbath School again. The title of next week's lesson is The Wisdom of Righteous Living. And the journey through the Beatitudes is nothing but righteous living. And so we're going to talk about that a bit.
Yep.
And it's interesting, like so many people get worried about persecution and how are they going to live through that and all that kind of stuff. And yet that's the last of the Beatitudes, is happy are those who are persecuted. And so how can we be happy when we're persecuted? We'll end up talking about that as well.
Yep. It'll be fun. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and hope you had a good Sabbath and have an awesome week coming up.